Jeff the Killer freaking sucks. In fact, this story is so bad that not only did it get removed from the internet once, but twice. To the Creepypasta fanbase, Jeff the Killer was everything wrong with Creepypasta. And it's a ridiculous thing to claim because Jeff the Killer could be considered the definitive poster child for the entire space, if it weren't for Slender Man existing in the same breath. Yet, despite his internet infamy, the fanbase absolutely despises him. The original story was so bad it read more like an edgy teenager fanfiction than an actual scary story. The hatred for his story runs so deep that at one point it was considered the worst Creepypasta. But why, despite that, is Jeffrey so darn popular? Besides Slender Man, Jeff ran the early internet. This image was a classic scary image shared throughout all types of sites, and it's so infamous that it's relevant to this day. No one knows where this came from. It's considered lost media. But beyond that scary image lies an entirely different reason for his fame, and it all has to stem with the scariest thing there is: fangirls. Word of the day: Fandomfication. The process by which fans transform standalone media into extensive fan-driven franchises or narratives, adding layers of lore, theories, and headcanons that often overshadow the simplicity or mystery of the original work. This phenomenon, sometimes referred to as unnecessary franchising, can alter the reputation and reception of the original media by expanding it beyond its intended scope and tone. I made that up, but it's a term I hold near and dear. It's a term I want to catch on because fandomfication is prevalent in a lot of things. Think backrooms. The memes come back, Kane makes his series, and all of a sudden there's hundreds of levels, countless amount of creatures, and so many headcanons that you actually just stop caring. No one cares about this anymore. The Creepypasta era was different, man. Before FNAF, I was a Creepypasta fan. It was the tributes that hooked me. That one Dollhouse Creepypasta video, Dreams Become Nightmares, light 'em up. I literally subscribed to this person because of that. I was hooked on these characters and I never read the original source material, much like 99% of people, but I didn't care. I was in love with the headcanons the internet people had created, becoming a mindless sheep to whatever Creepypasta slop was thrown on my plate. I didn't appreciate the character, yet I fell in love with the idea. And for most people, I think it's the same. It's like Greek mythology. Everyone lives in their little headspaces, creating these perfect stories about the characters within the mythos. In every form of modern media, the Greek pantheon has mostly been depicted as shining beacons of virtue, grand spectacles of might, larger-than-life idols to look up to. But when you read the original myths, you find out the Greek gods were kinda mean. I doubt most people who were mega fans of Creepypasta ever read a Creepypasta in their life, because if they did, they would not be doing stuff like this. Jeff the Killer is often depicted as this anime boy with the most basic drip of all time. A lot of people neglect the fact that he's a burn survivor, his eyelids have been cut out, and he probably stinks. William Afton's corpse is a better interpretation of Jeff the Killer than whatever this is. Yet this became the de facto look for him, and alongside that, a cast of characters seem to orbit him like Corey Kenshin fans every time they find him in public. Seen that Smile Dog? Not that one, but close. Just became his pet. And Jane the Killer? I know. Creative. Became his rival? Frenemy? Enemy with benefits? Who knows? All I know is she's the only Creepypasta that people just unanimously agree is hot. She's so Maki-core. There was also Nina the Killer, who was like Jane, but for femcells. There was also his brother, Lou, who was an attempt at making Jeff's story deeper than the shallow end of a public pool. Because in the original story, Lou died to Jeff in the greatest squad wipe of all time, but in this one, he survived. He's not very happy. He was supposed to be a rival, but it never really caught on. But what rival did catch on was Slender Man. Jeff and Slender Man were like Batman and Superman. It was a real David versus Goliath because we were made to believe that this twink could run ones with Slender Man, and most of these stories with them fighting would have him winning. But in other more slice of life headcanons, Slender Man acts as a father figure to all the Creepypastas. I Eat Pasta for Breakfast was the first series I remember actually delving into this idea, and looking back at it, it had me putting my hands up doing the Martin Scorsese because this was cinema. I was so childishly naive. I didn't realize this was someone's self-insert fanfiction. This was Creepypasta the Slice of Life, the webcomic. It had a lot of the established tropes like Tiki Toby masking Hoodie being the goon squad for Slender Man, Eyeless Jack being reduced to this cartoonish caricature of a person that just likes kidneys, and Ben drowned. Like, this is just Link. I always thought that was weird. Like, imagine if it was just Sonic chilling with Slender Man and Co because of Sonic EXE. But yeah, I Eat Pasta for Breakfast is what truly opened my eyes to the story potential of this version of Creepypasta, because this was cool back then. Nowadays, not so much. In fact, it was so bad at a certain point the creator established consciousness and canceled the series just to redo it with their own characters. They were still obviously Creepypasta characters, just Timu versions. They shortly canceled this series too. If you think Twinkification is bad now, I know I'm throwing fandomfication to your vocabulary and now Twinkification. Quick, somebody write a hate comment. You should see this goddamn fandom. Twinkification was bad because these stories of supernatural oddities and insane killers would just be reduced to anime boys dripping with angst. The only exceptions were the actual man-made horrors beyond comprehension, like the Rake. And thinking back to it, that's probably why you never saw the Rake included in these things. They couldn't turn him into a twink. But Slender Man sharing the stage with Jeff had him targeted for a lot of headcanon, ones where he's just a misunderstood entity. I remember that animation where the 8 pages were just drawn by his daughter who ended up getting isekai'd by a variant of Truck-kun. Couldn't she just like teleport out the way? Or couldn't Slender Man just hit the panzer grab on her with his tendril? But by far the best thing that happened to Slender Man fans was Marble Hornets, the OG analog horror. And I remember it being super cool and by far the only piece of fan content to actually take a creepypasta character seriously. At least I think so. I'm not watching 9 hours of this for this video. And also Slender the 8 Pages.
Get out of the way, tree.
Was that the bite of 87?
But by far the worst besides the movie, and on a serious note, the incident, it has to be the Sans AU Slender Man. In the same way Marble Hornets is OG analog horror, the Slender Man is OG Sans AU. And while there's plenty of Slendy variants, the main ones are Slender Man, Trender Man, and Offender Man. Slender Man is like the opposite of Slender Man. His equivalent would be Underfresh Sans because they're both like these whimsical cool versions of the original but are secretly crash outs, which I actually think is a cool character type. Too bad these characters put a permanent stain on the trope. There's Offender Man. You're gonna want to sit down for this one. He's Slender Man with an interesting occupation, and his hobbies aren't any better either. But don't worry, he doesn't target kids. We dodged a bullet there. I don't know how anyone thought this was a good idea, but I hope they never thought again. Also, Trender Man is just a normal guy, all things considered. Closing it up because I actually want to not spend a month on this video. There are certain characters that were popular but just weren't quite at the level like the original lineup. Like I always remember Bloody Painter popping up now and then, but never in anything too crazy. There is Clockwork, who people also unanimously agree is hot, but just to a lesser extent than Jane. There was Kagakao, whatever, who I generally think people only like because his design is cool, and that's all you need to become someone's favorite. Because for most of these creepypastas, their stories actually just suck. At a certain point, a lot of them read just like Jeff, edgy teenage fan fictions. There wasn't really much thought put into it, definitely not any thought to make it actually scary. There's a difference between the creepypasta fandom slop and actual creepypastas like Russian Sleep Experiment, Baraska, Candle Clove. Hell, even Cupcakes took itself more seriously than whatever Clockwork was supposed to be. Actual creepypastas do it for the love of the art. Stuff like this is just a glorified shitpost. Like this video, subscribe, and if you don't want to, you know what? That's fine. Here's my word from account. Send me stuff and I'll take that as a token of appreciation instead. But now videos are back on the menu. Don't get scared, and also, happy Halloween.